but in addition to kind of being industry in a way oriented, right? You're still contributing a lot to kind of science also, which is also amazing. As I know, you co-authored a book, right? And it's called XR Haptics Implementation and Design Guidelines. And in the description of this book, I found that this book aims to provide a global taxonomy of the so-called haptics interaction problem in extended reality. So as a researcher in haptics, for me, it was like a wow moment, because, you know, when it comes to haptics, it's never easy to find this, you know, generalizations or like global rules. I mean, first of all, even though it's not that new field, but still it's newer than visual interfaces, right? And plus sensitivity for the body parts, it's so different, right? There are so many nuances that it's so hard to get to this global rules. But I'm so excited to see this book, and I'm gonna read it. Actually, I already bought it. I'm not advertising, but I am excited to read it. And I have a question about that, actually. So if you don't mind, could you tell me where in the design space it is more challenging to have these global haptics rules when it comes to, you know, haptic interactions? And then can you elaborate a bit more on this specific thing that you mentioned, haptic interaction problem, what this problem is?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, to first start, maybe the reasoning why we've written the book. That was more of a bunch of like people from industry. So it's me, it's Eric Vasoli from Interhaptics. It was Chris Ulrich, who was from the CTO of Immersion, and it is written by Rafael Pesky, who is the CTO of Tronica. And we found that, yeah, we all had the mission to bring haptics to like an industry practical use case, and especially in XR or in virtual reality. But yeah, if there's no one that can program haptics in a way, then yeah, it doesn't make sense for our products to be there. So yeah, there was just a lack of knowledge of, especially for like innovation managers or VR programmers, how to implement haptics. And we wanted to make kind of a guideline, like a really practical guideline. So if I open the book, what can I do this day? What can I do tomorrow? What can I do the day after, in order to get around the question from, hey, I have a virtual reality environment, now I want haptics in it, but how do I get meaningful haptics in it? So that was really the purpose of the book. And yeah, it turned out that yeah, there was some form of taxonomy needed in order to educate people on in really easy ways of what type of haptics are there. So if I have this question, I want haptics, I want touch in my digital environment, where do I go? And yeah, do I want only vibrotactile feedback? Is that sufficient enough for me? Or do I want a combination of vibrotactile and force? So yeah, you need to explain also then, yeah, what is vibrotactile feedback? What does it mean for you?
Exactly.
So that's the reason why we kind of came, yeah, we needed to build some taxonomy in there. So that's the reason why the book is divided in two parts. So the first part is really like educating people on what is haptics. And the second part is, okay, now I know what haptics is, or like a very basic format of it. How do I implement it? So that's the reason why there is, where we needed the taxonomy in the first place.
It's for the practitioners, right? In that sense, right? Which is great, because when it comes to haptics, the practical part is mostly lacking a lot. Like, where do you start, right? Where do you start?
Definitely, it's really to make something, well, really guidelines. So I want a haptics project. Where do I start? And especially in XR, and also what are the steps that I can take? Both
and it's so much also context related, right? Like you just mentioned, it's specifically for XR kind of applications, right? Do you also specify like applications within XR?
Yeah, we do also specify applications there, and that also directly becomes the haptics problem, because haptics in itself isn't something that contains only digital touch. It's so much contextual information that defines which type of haptics is suited for a particular interaction. Yeah.
How do you attach the meaning to it, right? Also.
Yeah. You cannot only get haptics as a contained development product. You need to have all that information from visual, from audio, from interaction in a sense. So that is directly what we call the haptics problem. That it's not you cannot design haptics without the contextual information. So it's always a multimodal problem that you're looking at.
Are you planning on contributing more in terms of like writing about haptics in the future, about maybe other contexts, or it's...
As I said, I'm not a scientist. I'm someone from the industry who wants that our products, but also the haptic products in general, are easy to implement. So everything that I know more of than anybody else, I would like to contribute and write down. But it's not that I have that is a goal on its own. The goal is to foster the haptics ecosystem. And if writing or contributing to science is a part of that, then that's what I will do.
Wonderful. Thank you for answering this. It was very interesting for me.